How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together on this day. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum.
You got that. That was perfect. Is this on everything? Okay. Just checking. Shabbat Shalom. So wonderful to have everyone here. We've had kind of a rocky week as we go into fall and winterish weather. It wasn't too bad. It was a little sunny today, but a little bit brisk, right? And how grateful it is just to be together in these times, just to see one another. Every week, every Shabbat, it just feels like a little bit of reunion. We're really, really grateful for those of you joining us in person, but also for those joining virtually. It really means a lot. COVID has reminded us, this pandemic, about how much we need one another and how important our communities are and how sacred they are. How blessed we are to have this particular community for all of us as an extension that emboldens us all to be able to survive such times. And we have a very special service tonight. I know we're going to officially do the welcome in a minute, but we have my dear friend, Reverend Bill Hennessy, beside me, and we're very grateful for him to be here. His heart is a little bit heavy. His mom, Dorothy, in Illinois, is that how you say it? Illinois or Illinois? I would say, yeah, she's been going through some health complications, and we're grateful he's here, and we just send so much warmth to his whole extended family, especially to his mom. We know that he's with her spiritually and that the family is taking care of her. Before I invite Bruce up here, let's just take a nice deep breath of Shabbat air. We're going to bring in all of the goodness from this week, all the things that we want to preserve, that we want to hold on to and not forget. And then we're going to breathe out everything that we really wished we never even went through in the first place. All those kind of things, some minor and some major, things that we forgive ourselves for if we're able, forgive others for if we're able, and learn to accommodate and just move away from us. Okay, ready? Deep breath in. And why don't we do it 2 more times? Thank goodness we have Shabbat. We're going to invite over Bruce Chorus, our immediate past president, to do the official welcome. I don't think Bill knows that you're actually the immediate past president.
We want to clarify that. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, here in the room and those of you watching on the stream. It's a very special weekend for us here at CSS, as the rabbi mentioned. We have Reverend Bill Hennessy here tonight for our pulpit exchange, and that means it's also Thanksgiving basket weekend. So we will be assembling the baskets tomorrow over at North Presbyterian and handing them out to the various organizations on Sunday morning. And this is such a special thing that we do. And obviously, that's the weekend before Thanksgiving. This is 35 plus years that our congregations have been doing this together. That's thousands and thousands of meals that we've provided for people who wouldn't have much to be thankful for. And so as we look ahead to Thanksgiving and we'll think about what we have to be thankful for this year, let's remember that there are those that are less fortunate, and what a wonderful thing we do every year to help make their holiday just a little bit better. It really makes this a very, very special weekend, and not just because Reverend Hennessy is here. A whole bunch of things. So I'll be back a little later with the announcements. We have a lot of stuff coming up in the next week or so, so there's a lot to talk about. And in the meantime, enjoy the service. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Thank you, Bruce. And it makes me even prouder of this project we have. 35 years ago, I was a bar mitzvah right around Thanksgiving. So I love that. Now I feel even a deeper connection to it. So we're going to light our Shabbat candles, which are, before we do, we have a song to sing for Shabbat. We're going to be turning in our prayer books. We use the Mishkan Tefillah prayer book, page 140. It is the Psalm for Shabbat Tov Lehodot.
It's good to give thanks. I won't be here on Thanksgiving weekend, so I wanted to sing this with you this Friday night. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. On this the day of days, my lips shall sing your praise, for I know that you'll always be here surrounding me. Third line down. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. My spirit takes release. I close my eyes in peace, and from my soul, heard far above, springs a song of love. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. I wish to understand the wonders of your hand, for all the blessings that are mine rise from your design. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon.
How wonderful, and what a wonderful way to connect Shabbat to Thanksgiving.
I know, so
I love it.
beautiful.
I had a reading in the Reconstructionist prayer book. They spend a lot of time on Thanksgiving. It was actually important to Mordecai Kaplan. And there's a wonderful reading here by Barbara Cohen, which is, "She was like no doll I'd ever seen. When I sat down at the table for breakfast, the doll was at my place. Mama had made hair out of dark brown yarn, and she'd embroidered eyes and a nose and a mouth on the face. She had covered the yarn hair with a yellow kerchief embroidered with red flowers. She's gorgeous, Mama, I managed to murmur, but she doesn't look like the Pilgrim women in the picture. No, Mama said. She looks like you in the photograph you have that was taken when you were a girl. Of course, Mama said. I did that on purpose. What's a pilgrim, Schenkite? A pilgrim is someone who came from the other side to find freedom. That's me, Molly. I'm a pilgrim." Wonderful way to connect the immigrant story to the story of Thanksgiving. So we're going to turn to our candle lighting on page 120. And I was delighted to see Karen Weissman was able to make it here. She had surgery last week, and what a remarkable thing that she is walking up here. I think that is just incredible. It's a miracle. She's here representing not only herself, but her sister, who's joining us virtually, I believe from New Jersey. And she's lighting her candles in honor of their mother's yard site, Cecile Tegler. May her memory be for a blessing. The candle lighting prayer is on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
May the lights of these candles light our way, reminding us of all the generations that came before us, that are with us in our lighting of our candles. We're going to turn to the Kiddush on page 123. I'm going to invite Cantor to lead us as we sanctify the day of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hakafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinhilanu zikaron l'maseh Bereshit, ki hu yam techilah levika'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, v'kohamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. If I was Harry Potter, I would levitate that right now. We are going to continue now with L'chadodi on page 138 as we officially welcome Shabbat in the room. Well, we are ready for Shabbat. We actually have to welcome her. When we do so, it really shows us that she's here, she's present. We can rest. It's okay to rest. That's one of the hardest things we can do as human beings, is to allow ourselves to rest and to relax and to heal. We're going to sing the first and the ninth verse. On the ninth verse, we rise, we face the doorway, and if you're joining us virtually, whatever doorway that is for you, we bow to the Shabbat bride as she enters, and then we welcome each other. Instead of greeting each other with handshakes, we do it with a wave now. 138.
L'chadodi likrat galai, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat galai, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We remain standing for our call to prayer, page 146.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
A wise friend this week said, are we blessing God, or is God blessing us? And here, I think, by being together and saying these words, we bless one another. We turn to page 148, and we have an interpretive version of Mariv Aravim about the evening sky's approach.
The first 3 lines in Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bifaro ma'ariv aravim mechokma poteach she'arim. God of creation, who makes the evening fall from light into darkness with the setting of the sun. You unfold the heavens with brilliant moon and stars and wrap our souls in peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bifaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokma poteach she'arim. Baruch I'm sorry. Baruch atah Adonai Hamarim Aravim.
Let's read together on 148, the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach sharim u'tfuna mishaneh itim u'mechalif et hazmanim u'misader et hakokavim b'mishmeroteim berkia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshek v'choshek mipnei or Umariv yom u'mevi laila, umavdil ben yom u'ben laila, Adonai svod shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. We continue now with the Shema, page 152, 153.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam.
You may be seated. We continue with the V'ahavta, page 154.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol be'yotecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anu ודיברתם בשבתך ובביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We read together in the English, page 155. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. And we're going to turn to one of the most joyous melodies of Shabbat, Yismechu, which is on page 162 at the bottom, which is all about our celebrations on Shabbat. I think a lot of you are familiar. Please join with Cantor. I don't know why I had never heard it. It's very Hasidic. Is there a connection? It's the opening notes that Paul played there. It felt very much like a lot of Hasidic melodies.
Well, it's in the Hava Nagila mode.
Ah, yeah. Now that you say
For
that.
us musicians out there, you got like the lowered third and the raised fourth. Da 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 da. Right? You got so.
There's real joy, even though it's a lower part of the it has joy in that place. It's wonderful.
Yes, and the Ukrainian Dorian, or if they call it in Yiddish, Fregish. So what key were we in, Paul?
E.
We were in E Fregish tonight.
I don't have any idea what you said, but it sounded really good.
If Paul was playing, let's say, in let's say vaudeville or the Borscht Belt or something like that, and someone walked over and he said, "Play an E Fregish," how would you play it, Paul?
I love it. All the songs, they connect in that way. Thank you, Cantor. I really appreciate that. Why don't we take an opportunity to rise if you're able? No pressure on you. You could also just bend your knees. We're going to take an opportunity for our private silent prayer starting on page 164, and we'll continue through page 180 and just take time. We need this time for our own personal reflections. Whenever you're ready, you may be seated. We're going to move now to our healing prayer. Right before services, I had two really wonderful pieces of news. I think when we're praying, our body and the doctors can be amazing, and there's many more miracles that we give credit to. So first of all, Karen, we saw on her feet after only a week. What an incredible, that's modern medicine and just ability to recover. And Sue also had some wonderful news in the back, and we're so grateful for her healing. We hope it continues in health and happiness. I'm going to read our list of names. The prayer itself is on page 371. Is that what it is? I think that's right. Oh, we're doing a different one. Yeah. Yes, sorry. Cantor has been teaching us a new one by Todd Herzog, and that's in our leaflet, so ignore the page number. We are thinking as a community, and any names you'd like to send in, just either provide them directly to us or let Nancy McGorry in our office know. Angie Byers, Ebony Burse, Noah Camacho, Connie Cuvello, Peggy DeLong, Arthur Dezelke, Sue Frank, Michael Getting, Dorothy Hennessy, Nancy Hersbrunn, Paula Jones, Gail Lewis, Diane Lynch, Larry Max, Jean McGarry, Helene Mesh, Ryan McGowan, Ida Neveler, Cheryl Rossi, Mimi Shapiro, Don Sherman, Anita Wiesel, Karen Weissman, Jeffrey Winnick, Mark Yablin, Elizabeth Jeezy Yeager, Christine Zalowiski, Hannah Ezra Ben Shuel, and Penina Sarah Bat Hana. We'll go around, and if you have other names, feel free to offer them, and you can write them in if you're joining us virtually. We bring all those names into our heart. And again, please look at your leaflet for the words. Repeat after me. Dear God of our ancestors,
dear God of our ancestors,
help us renew our faith.
help us to renew our faith.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Bring peace to all our days.
Bring peace to all our days.
And restore strength of body.
Restore our strength of body.
Help clarify our minds.
Help clarify our minds.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Rejuvenate our light.
Rejuvenate our life.
Try with me. Thank you for all these blessings.
Thank you for all these blessings.
Throughout our days and nights.
Throughout our days and nights.
We celebrate the journey.
We celebrate the journey.
This precious gift of life.
This precious gift of life.
And
complete healing of body and soul. May all of our prayers go out where they're needed, and may no one in this world feel alone in their struggles. So, it's my great pleasure to invite my good friend and, I guess, religious neighbor. I think we live 20 minutes from each other, but our buildings, as you know, North Presbyterian are right here. Shir Shalom here is a half a mile. And we're so blessed. This is a relationship that we've had almost the entire time of Congregation Shir Shalom. I'd say this is probably the 9th year of our interaction and connection to each other, but we have a very long-standing relationship. As Bill said, back in my bar mitzvah year, Bruce, sorry, did I say Bill? As Bruce said, back in my bar mitzvah year, we started our sisterhood connection, North Presbyterian, just like Temple Beth Am and Temple Sinai. Well, Temple Sinai started in the suburbs, but Temple Beth Am, both of them did. They came and they staked their claim over here. I think North Presbyterian came from a little different place and resituated, if I remember the history. But we're really blessed. It really means quite a lot. We don't share everything. You know, our religious traditions are different, and I think that enhances each of our traditions. We can see each other in one another's eyes. It allows us to see deeper into ourselves when we experience someone looking at us in that way, just as the same is true, I think, for his community and for him. So we're going to be having a pretty deep conversation. A couple weeks ago, started a little bit, just be forewarned. We started a little conversation about Thanksgiving and how to make sense of it. So I'm going to invite up Bill to continue our discussion. I'm going to go to Cantor's side, and we're going to have a little dialogue.
Well, folks, thank you so much for allowing me to be with you tonight. Rabbi Alex, it's so great to be here and to celebrate our long partnership that we've enjoyed for so many years. I think longer, really, than 35 years. And as I've been told at North, there was a close relationship between one of my predecessors, Dave McFarland, and the rabbi who was at Temple Beth Am at that time, back in the probably the 70s, 80s.
It was either Rabbi Herzog, who the sanctuary is, Rabbi Kerman, or it was Steve Mason. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe both. I don't know. But I'm so glad that we've been able to rejuvenate that and to revitalize it. And our partnership is beyond the Thanksgiving baskets. We enjoyed a work partnership back in September of just this year, which was really exciting, and I know the folks at North had a wonderful time, not just doing it that day, but planning it and getting to know folks from here at Shir Shalom in the process of planning that together. So it's just such a terrific relationship that we share. So as Rabbi Alex mentioned, he and I have been talking about Thanksgiving, and this year, 2021, marks the 400th anniversary of the so-called first Thanksgiving, the first celebration of harvest after the Pilgrims made their way to the Plymouth, or established the Plymouth colony. And as we most of us probably have learned in school, they left England in 1620, made their way to this country, and actually ended up quite a bit north of where they intended to be because of the weather. They actually got a late start. Normally a journey like that should be begun in spring or early summer. It was not until the fall because of a variety of reasons, but they ended up there at Cape Cod Bay and landed and established the Plymouth colony there. But really their story begins much earlier. The people who came here on that voyage were not just Puritans, they were separatist Puritans. So they were Puritans in England, people who wanted to reform the Church of England and who have been influenced by the theology of John Calvin, which is sort of the grandfather of my tradition. And wanted to bring that understanding, that Reformed understanding, to the Church of England. So there were Puritans in the Church of England, but then there were also separatist Puritans. And the difference between them is really theologically infinitesimal. It was just the only difference really was that the separatist folks finally believed that they could not exist with integrity and remain part of the Church of England. So they wanted to leave. And around 1609, they made their way to the Netherlands. And that was an escape. They had to leave by a few at a time, because the King of England, James I, it wasn't allowed to just leave to immigrate to another country from England at that time. And so this group made their way to eventually Leiden in the Netherlands and established a community there in Leiden. The Netherlands was good because in the Netherlands it was deeply reformed already, and a number of different reformed groups had already established communities there. So they had religious freedom in the Netherlands. But after about 10 or 12 years, it was hard work. It was a different language, a different culture. They began to be concerned that their children weren't going to grow up to be English. They were going to grow up to be Dutch, and they didn't want them to lose their English roots. And so decided they would make their way to the New World. So when they came to the New World, they did that through essentially proper channels. They petitioned the king to allow them to leave, had all their reasons for leaving. They had backers, a group of merchants who were backing them, and they got this Mayflower, this ship that they used to make their way to the New World. It wasn't all of them. About half of their community stayed back in Leiden. They would come later, they hoped. So, in fact, the governor of the Plymouth colony, William Bradford, who became the governor really after about the first year that they were in this country, he and his wife came, but they left their son behind in Leiden. And a number of families did that. Well, they were just people who had very little skills. They weren't really set up to go into a new wilderness and to carve out a living and make it profitable, because they had to repay these backers who had financed their trip. And so they had to somehow create some kind of profit in their time here. But as I say, they got away late. They didn't get to this country until November, really right around this time, around November 11 or something, and didn't actually begin building a settlement until the end of December, the worst time of year possible. And during that first winter, they lost about half their company. The Mayflower, which had dropped anchor out in the bay, became essentially a hospital ship. They really a hospice. Their dying and their dead were taken out there, and while the people who were healthy stayed in the settlement. It was a rough beginning for them. But there had been some other things happening before they arrived. And this is where the story, one of the things that Rabbi Alex and I were talking about was the mythology around this story. First of all, that they came here for religious freedom, that they escaped persecution and came. They could have stayed in England as Puritans, certainly. They wanted to be separate, and coming to the New World, what they wanted to do was establish a community that was pure. They were Puritans. And, even though that name was sort of a pejorative, that was what they wanted to do. They wanted to have a community that was perfect and a utopian kind of society. They really weren't interested in a religiously diverse society. So religious freedom, they wanted freedom for them, for themselves, but would not have welcomed other practices of the faith in their group. So there are nuances to that idea of religious freedom with the Pilgrims. But prior to their arriving, between 1616 and 1619, a plague had struck the eastern coast of the U.S. Began in Maine, was brought over by European fishermen, went through and wiped out whole indigenous communities. The Wampanoag, which is the group that was around where the Pilgrims landed, were decimated. About 90% were killed by this plague. That was sort of seen by the Europeans as God's way of clearing the land for them. And so you have to understand that this is a group of people who firmly believed that God was calling them to do these things, to go and establish this, what they believed to be a new Israel. And they identify very, very closely with the stories of moving into the land that we find in Joshua or in Judges. That movement into Canaan. That's what they sort of identified with. So we have to, I think, understand where they're coming from, but realize that it was a horrific experience for that population there. And there was one person in particular, you probably know his name is Squanto. I think his actual name is Tisquantum. He was actually captured in 1614 and taken to England as a slave. Came back, made his way back. When he got to his village in this country, it was completely gone. There was no one living. It had been a village of about 2,000 people. It was gone. So as it happened, that was the place where the Pilgrims established their colony. In their haste to find some place to settle, they were looking for cleared spaces, and that was one of them. It's very likely that the native folks around them found that kind of abhorrent, that they would build a settlement on essentially what was a cemetery. I mean, bodies had just been left unburied, uncared for, because there was no one left to do that. But the Pilgrims felt that they had to have some place to live. So in March of 1620, or 1621, after they've suffered through this terrible winter, this native person came into their clearing and greeted them in English, which was kind of fascinating to them, and began to teach them how to live. The Wampanoag had been so decimated, only about 10% of their population left, maybe 1,000 in their nation. They needed allies, and they were willing to create a sort of relationship with these Pilgrims in hopes of establishing some kind of alliance, because they were being pressured by the other native groups around them. So that relationship was one of convenience, but also I think one that was appreciated to a point by the Pilgrims, but you can never, I don't think they ever fully embraced these folks as true partners, in this endeavor. So, when we talk about that first Thanksgiving, it was, it receives about 3 lines in William Bradford's history of the Plymouth plantation. So it wasn't, I think, regarded as that momentous, occasion as we like to imagine. But it was one where the native population and the Pilgrims were able to celebrate together this achievement that they had managed to, produce a harvest. The continuing history of Plymouth then continues to be one of struggle. They never really established themselves as a profit-bearing venture. Their backers eventually declared bankruptcy. And they just never really were able to make a go of it. About 10 years after they were there, of course, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was established, and it was huge. It had much more backing. It had the crown behind it. And then shortly after that, of course, was the Puritan Revolution in England and the Civil War in England, which changed the politics there altogether. What we take from that, though, that story, I think, is important, and how it has shaped our country and our understanding of our place here, I think is in my mind kind of a mixed bag. Now, I don't know what you were raised learning in school, but we had the same kinds of stories about the kindly native who helped these pilgrims in their struggle, but then he just sort of disappears from the picture, and the native populations sort of disappear from the picture. In fact, had they not been there to help them, the Pilgrims would have certainly perished. They would never have made it another year. And there has always been, I think, this sense of destiny behind those stories for us in this country. But if you read what, for instance, William Bradford was writing, you kind of get the sense that it didn't really work. What they wanted to establish never really materialized. What they wanted to establish was a society that was pristine and unaffected by the outside world, that was completely enclosed and insulated. They couldn't do that. You can never do that. When you're in the world, you're going to be affected by other forces around you. And one way I think we have today of sort of rethinking that is to look more closely at what was happening with the native population. How did that relationship develop, and how could we today try and heal those sins that were committed in that process of colonization. We stand on ground that was once part of the Iroquois nation in this country, and what needs to be admitted and what needs to be sort of reconciled as we think about our relationship with the native population that's around us and still here. You know.
It's a wonderful retelling of the story. And first of all, if you ask me what we were taught, I wore my Snoopy tie.
Oh, is that right?
I went to a Jewish day school. We didn't learn that much about it. So it was interesting hearing your reflections because it really fit into, as you told me earlier, into your religious tradition. And so there is part of your own story that's directly tied to it in an interesting way. I think the other part that you didn't mention is that a year before the Mayflower arrives, the first slave ship, we know the 1619 Project, and so it really represents this important moment, which is also about the new life of a community and also death and destruction and enslavement that went with it.
Yeah.
I think for me, the stories are familiar because they feel very religious. It feels like the story of Abraham and Sarah, or I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Jacob and Esau. And it feels very mythic in that way. And I think I can relate to the fact that the story's broken, because most of our stories are broken when we look at them, and yet we still can find some sacred in them. And so I think our religious voice actually can teach. You know, we have stories that go way far, both of our traditions that go much further back than the Pilgrims and Plymouth Rock, that teach us how to restore a story that's broken and still find significance in it.
I think too the idea that we are a nation that has been established through immigration. You know, how many of us can know like 2, 3, 4 generations back where their folks came from, where their ancestors came from? I mean, my own great-great-grandfather came over here from Ireland in 1847, which didn't mean anything to me for a long time until I began to realize that that was immediately in the middle of the Irish potato famine. And he was 18 years old when he left, which I'm assuming he came as a refugee, essentially. He came to escape starvation. And you know, this country has always offered that as an alternative to the difficulties that folks are facing in their own
At
lives.
1847, it's wonderful. That's right around the start of our Jewish community in Buffalo,
Oh, yeah.
and right around the time Isaac Mayer Wise, who kind of founded American Judaism, came.
Right.
So maybe your he was coming from Bohemia, but maybe your grandfather was like.
Mine was from Ireland, so. Yeah.
How many of you know where your ancestors came from?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I have to raise my hand too. Part of it I don't know. There's multi-story.
A couple of resources I wanted to share with you, though, one is a documentary called The Pilgrims, which aired a couple of years ago on PBS. It's uses William Bradford's material that he had written, of Plymouth Plantation, and does a terrific job of talking about the various dynamics in that process. Another one is this by Sarah Vowell called The Wordy Shipmates. This is about the establishment of the Plymouth or the Massachusetts Bay Colony, so a few years later. But she has some wonderful insights to the Puritan mindset and what was motivating these folks to make this journey. So if you ever have a chance to read it, it's a terrific book. She's so funny, but also very insightful.
Well, thank you, Reverend Hennessy. What wonderful. We greet like this. We're not throwing up our hands. That's our Broadway way of greeting. But Reverend Hennessy had a kick out of the fact we've resorted to waving. Yeah. Because the tradition of handshakes actually, I think, was borrowed from our Christian neighbors with the passing of the peace.
Yeah, we've had to gift that up too.
Are you doing that?
We do this.
They've gone more Eastern, I guess. So
That's right.
Wonderful. So we'll do that. Those kind of motions, we have to do it. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we'll also be continuing the discussion on Sunday morning. And those of you, I don't see Chris here because the Cohens are so, oh, there he is, okay. We are doing that project on Sunday morning and Saturday, I believe, as well. And the 500 turkey dinners. It's wonderful, and thank you to everyone who's participated. There's still probably, talk to Chris if you would like to participate. It's a wonderful volunteer project. We're going to continue in our prayer book with Aleinu. I invite you to rise in celebration of all of our ancestors and in all that the gratefulness that we have in this world for Aleinu. I'm going to get my talis because I haven't even worn it yet. Standing, page 591 for the end of the Aleinu. On that day, we will all be one and unified together in God's presence. We may be seated. We're going to turn now to the Mourner's Kaddish. This is perhaps the most important thing we do together, honor our ancestors. We have many people that join us who have had recent losses and time in the past, anniversaries, as we saw with Karen Weissman. We have their lights lit throughout the room. This is a wonderful way to pay homage to those we love and hold dear, and I think it's really a sacred thing for coming together. I'm going to read our list. Those of you joining us virtually, feel free to read names. If for whatever reason you can't be there and it's the anniversary, you can always call our office and let Nancy know that you'd like to change the date of when the name's going to be read. On our Shloshim list for recent deaths, we'll remember Virginia Bergman. Oh boy, I can't believe it's been a year. Oh no, that's more recently one. We're still in Shloshim, sorry. Gloria Brazone, Michael Berwick, Dorothy Shackman, Gary Sloan, Eric Weiner, and Annabelle Weiss, all who died in the last 30 days. And on our yard site list from years past, Henry J. Amram, Abram Bates, Mildred Boslow, Louis Brogadier, Joe Brown, Sadie Bunis, Minna Kamen, Abraham Isaac Cassover, Tessie Cohen, Louis Fagan, Jay Fry, Herman Gable, Boris Y. Gelfer, Alice Gordon, Raphael Jacoby, Jason Kaiser, Albert Klein, Morris Lattis, Ted Lane, Bella Lesser, Robert Lesses, Samuel Levitt, Shirley Marcusy, Carl Myers, Benjamin Neiman, Mary Pisakow, Diane Ponticos, Samuel Porton, Rita Ray, Marianne Schiff, Judy Shirelitz, Sylvia Schulafend, Betty Schuster, Helen Sherman, Lynn Slater, Arthur Slonim, Louis Alvin Starsky, Florence Summer, Cecile Tegler, Ann Toth, Arnold Weiss, Lillian Weiss, and Stephen Zaffia. If there's other names you'd like to be read, please just raise your hand. We invite those whose custom it is to rise, page 598. Yitgadal, v'yitkadash, shemei rabbah, v'yalma, divrach, hirite, v'yamlik malchute, v'chayachon, v'yamachon, v'chayeh, d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agalah, v'zman, karid, yamru, amen. Yehi shmei rabbah, v'vorach, le'olam, omei, almaya. Yitbarak, v'yishtabak, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaled, v'yitalal, shemei dekudashah, b'rechu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran b'yalma v'yimaru, amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yimaru, amen. Oseh shalom v'yimaru hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yal kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimaru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world, and we say amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. Zikronam livracha. And I would like to invite Bruce Corus up again to offer our announcements.
Shabbat Shalom again. Those of you here in the room, those watching on the stream, including Karen's sister. Hi, Rita. Rita's 2 days younger than me. We've known each other since we're very, very young. A very special thank you to Reverend Bill Hennessy for joining us this evening. That was not what I was expecting, but it was really informative and really thought-provoking. So thank you for that. As I said, this is one of our special weekends of the year to have Reverend Hennessy here on Friday night, to have Rabbi Alex over there at North Presbyterian on Sunday morning, and to have our two congregations working together all weekend long to help those less fortunate. I'll talk a little bit about that coming up. Of course, thank you to Rabbi Alex Cantor, Frank Paul Staley for a beautiful service. Really interesting music tonight. Really nice.
I tried to incorporate a lot of English.
Oh, there you go.
Faith service, and we're getting towards Thanksgiving.
It was really nice. I mean, all around, just a very different service tonight. Very nice. I want to thank our ushers tonight, Marcia Bougie and Sheila Bernard Tucker. I want to thank everyone that RSVP'd for the service and for continuing to do that. It is very important for us to have an accurate head count and know for seating and the owning to go and everything else. So thank you for doing that. We want to thank everyone who volunteered or supported the Shvettas this week. Rabbi, you'll appreciate this. We're giving up on Shivering Shabbat, and we're going to replace it with Shivering Shvettas. It was cold out there in that parking lot on Tuesday. I can't wait till December 7th, which will be our next one. Anyway, thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. And again, the next one is Tuesday, December 7th from 4 to 7 or until sold out. You can go to the website to order in advance, save $1, and guarantee that you get it. Thank you to Ganilla Kester for bringing the Buffalo Corner reading series back. That resumed last night. It's a wonderful series, and we look forward to that all year long. Here is the Women of Shir Shalom section of the announcements tonight. Stand by. First of all, thank you to everyone who ordered from the Women of Shir Shalom's Becker Farms fundraiser. Pickup will be this Sunday from 2 to 4 and Tuesday from 4 to 6. The Women of Shir Shalom are presenting the Art of Hanukkah program via Zoom on Tuesday, November 30th at 7 o'clock p.m. Everyone is welcome. You do need to register ahead of time. The link is in the emails. Talk to Sheila Bernard Tucker if you need more information on that. Now, they could also use some volunteers this Tuesday, November 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m. to do some schlepping. They need to move rummage boxes off of the stage in the social hall for the Salvation Army pickup on Wednesday. We got so much stuff this year for the rummage sale. There's still quite a bit. So the Salvation Army is coming for that on Wednesday. If you can help, please let Jackie Korchowski know. And then they can use volunteers again on Wednesday, December 1st. That'll be from 10:30 a.m. at 10:30 a.m. to move bags of clothing for savers off of the stage. Again, Jackie Korchowski is the contact on that. That concludes the Women of Shir Shalom section of tonight's announcements. Chai Club is back. The weekly drawings will begin on Wednesday, December 1st. Please buy and sell your tickets that you received in the mail. You will have a much better chance than I will because Joanne never puts my tickets in the basket. Next Friday, we will be back here in the sanctuary at 7 o'clock. The gift shop will be open prior to services. That'll be from 6:30 to 7. Thank you to Sue Frank for helping out on that. She'll help you with Hanukkah items or anything else that you might need. As we mentioned, it is Thanksgiving basket time. This is such a wonderful thing that we do, and it helps so many people. So you can still drop off food tomorrow morning, correct?
Yeah.
Where'd Chris go? We lost Chris.
We're getting a delivery of turkeys to put in on.
Oh, okay. Look at that. On Shabbat, he's taking care of a delivery of turkeys. That's great. Anyway, we will be packing up the boxes and sorting the food tomorrow morning and then handing them out on Sunday. So if you still would like to help in any way, if you want to write a check, that would be great too. Talk to Chris after services. Those of you that are watching on the stream, check your emails. Again, we're going to hand out probably 500 Thanksgiving dinners this year, more or less, to people who otherwise wouldn't have them. And I can tell you from experience that being there on Sunday morning, when the organizations come that are going to be distributing them to the families, and they come and they pick up 20, 30, 50 or more meals, and they just look at you and they say, God bless you. Thank you for doing this, because it makes a difference. And that's what it's all about. And that's so wonderful that we can do that. Not this coming Friday, the following Friday, December 3rd, we will be doing Buffalo Billica Hanukkah at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Erev Shabbat service. You can wear your favorite Bills clothing or colors. We're going to have a community menorah lighting. You can enter the Bills Menorah Contest, RSVP to Joanne for a latke box to go. And then we're also, speaking of helping people, this is great. We're going to be collecting toilet paper, paper towels, disinfectant wipes, and laundry soap for Jewish Family Service in honor of Fifth Night Gift Gathering. So if you can donate something, again, to help those less fortunate, that would be wonderful. Drop off your items that night, which is Friday, December 3rd. And again, as we have done in the past with the whole Hanukkah Zoom thing, we will be Zooming on Hanukkah. We will be having Hanukkah candle lighting every night at 6:45 on Zoom, except for Friday night services when we are here in person. That will be the same link every night. My God, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to continue to evaluate everything and monitor and change our protocols as needed. As you know, we will always put your safety first. Shabbat Shalom. Grab an onig to go as you leave, and I want to wish everyone a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I know that this is a tough holiday for some people because you think about those that aren't with you this year, and I know that's a tough thing. But we do have a lot to be thankful for. We're thankful that we can be together. Last year at this time, we couldn't. And so this year, as we approach this holiday of giving thanks, we can give thanks for the fact that our family is together in this special place, in this house, as the cantor sings from time to time. Our family is together for Thanksgiving, and that means a lot. And I can tell you, I am so thankful to be part of this wonderful Shir Shalom family. So Shabbat Shalom, happy Thanksgiving, and don't forget your onics.
Thank you, Bruce. And that's a really, really good point that Thanksgiving can be a hard time, not only for missing people, but for many people that are feeling isolated and alone. So please reach out to each other to check in. We're going to move to our concluding prayer, Don Olam, page 625. 625.
Adon Olam, Hashem Halach, B'terem Kol, Yitzin Nivral, Yitasa, V'chefso Kol, Azoy V'lek Shemonika, Adon Olam, V'acharek Yichlutza Kol, Nivado Yimlok Nara, Adon Olam, V'hu Haya, Hashem Halach,
Hashem Allah,
B'terem Kol,
B'terem Kol,
Yitzin Nivral, Yitnasa,
Nasa,
V'chefso Kol, Azoy Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Echad, V'yein Sheni, L'cham Shilo Le'achbira Adon Olam, V'ri Reshit, V'ri Tachlit,
Don Olam,
Hashem Halach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol,
B'terem Kol,
Yitzin Nivral, Yitnasa,
Nasa,
V'chefso Kol, Azoy ותרחבי ביצרה אדון עולם, וניסי ומנוס לי, מנקוסי בעומק לאדון עולם, אדון עולם,
Adon Olam,
אשר מלך,
Asher Malach,
בטרם כל,
Terem Kol,
יציא נברא, להתנסה,
Nasa,
בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, בידו הפקיד רוחי, ותישן וירא אדון עולם, ואם רוחי גוויתי, אדוני לי ולא ירא אדון עולם, אדון עולם,
Adon Olam,
אשר מלך,
Asher Malach,
בטרם כל,
Terem Kol,
יציא נברא, להתנסה,
Nasa,
בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם.
and Chala Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Borei Peri. I was checking. Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. That happened once at the beginning of the video. Amen. And anyways, this challah is reserved for the Hennessy's. Thank you for being here. As you came in peace, may you leave in peace. Please return your prayer books minus the leaflet to the front of the room. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.